Okay, we are going to get started in a few minutes. While we're waiting, if everyone wants to just go into the chat and share where they're from, the type of brand that they're working on, and any other details that they feel like, we can get to know each other a little bit better. Hi, Darshna. I'm going to ask you to please leave. This is not a call for manufacturers. This is not a call for you to solicit business. This is not, and if anyone is offered because I leave the chat open. If anyone is asked to give their business to anyone on this call, that is a red flag. I know a lot of you are here to find suppliers, but that is a red flag to not work with them. If someone is coming into someone else's space to poach business, there's probably a reason for that. So that's something that you all want to keep in mind while um, sourcing and looking for suppliers. I'm going to go over that one more time before um, I'm just going to remove them. Yeah, we'll go over that again when we officially start, but let's go with the people who are here who are starting brands. I'm based out of the Western Slope in Colorado, working on a luxury design focused brand called Amini. From Canada, and I'm working on a bridal line. I'm driving right now to work. Okay. And while everyone is getting into the call and set up, let me just know where you're calling from, what kind of brand you're starting. This way we can all get to know each other a little bit better. I'm going to get started at 10:05 just to give everyone some time to get into Zoom. My name is Celine and I'm from Malaysia next to Singapore. I'm starting a lifestyle brand centered around clothing made exclusively from natural fabrics. I'm from Portugal at this time, Jordana. And what type of brand are you trying to start? Okay, we have a lot of questions. This call is probably going to go longer than an hour. I'm going to go really fast. It's going to be recorded, so you'll be able to watch everything again and pause it if you need to. Um, but I want to try to get to as many questions as possible. We have Iman, based in Milan, Italy, and starting a women's wear brand inspired by Egyptian identity and lost artisanry called Darnu. Charlotte, I'm currently based in South France. I'm at the beginning of my journey and I'm here to learn. I'm wanting to start a line of summer menswear. Christina, based in the US, and I'm starting an underwear brand. Hannah, the owner of Hannah Gabrielle, a modest fashion brand. I've already started my brand, but I'm self-taught, so always learning from USA. Amber, I'm from USA and starting a bag brand. Jordana, my daughter, wants to be a fashion designer, and we want to start a crew neck business with embroidery and beads designed by us. Lori from Nova Scotia, Canada. Uh-oh, my thing just moved. I'm starting a kids' bodysuits and shorts for sports such as gymnastics and dance. Karina from Bulgaria, and I'm starting a sustainable fashion brand for women currently centered around summer wear. Uh, Sean from New Zealand doing women's clothing focused on women 40, 50 plus, comfortable everyday wear in denim and other natural fabrics. Bria, Arizona, in the state, in the States, I'm hoping to start a hybrid luxury rental slow fashion brand, Akash, based out of Germany, and I have a lifetime visa for India and a Canadian and German citizenship. I mean, my husband has OCI and we don't use it. So I'm not sure if that is necessarily a benefit to your business, if that's what you're asking. Um, in terms of, companies we have, hoping to start a plus size resort brand. Haua. My name is Natalie. I live in Lisbon, started a brand C Vista. Now I only work with Rami Nettle, and I plan to expand to other unusual, innovative plastic-free material. Kissy from Manila. I started an apparel brand featuring local weavers and heritage embroidery from the Philippines. My brand is called Heritage Finds Clothing. Cheryl Page. My name is Cheryl from Las Vegas. I'm here to learn everything I can and start a luxury slow fashion brand. Elsie, petite formal wear in Miami, Florida. Cynthia, Oregon, USA, starting a women's fashion line focused on vintage inspired necklines. I think I got everyone. The the chat was moving as we went. All right, so let's jump in. And I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. So, starting off, if anyone approaches you in this chat and says they're a supplier and you should work with them, red flag, do not work with them. If people are sliding into your DMs, if they're finding you on Facebook, if anyone is like, hey, work with me, that's a red flag because legitimate suppliers are going to trade shows. They have other ways of getting business, primarily word of mouth if they're actually good. So if someone slides into your DMs, that's an automatic, almost like this is probably a bad idea. I already, if you joined just now, had to kick someone out of this because they were a supplier. I get this a lot. Suppliers trying to kind of poach all of you because you're looking for suppliers. Not a good business practice and something you want to be careful of and just avoid. Report it to Instagram for spam, actually. Don't even just delete it. I would report it. So that's that. What else before we start? Some questions I'm going to go over really quickly because I have a lot of free content on it and the questions, and also I've sent you like free videos and it was covered in the free videos. So some of you might not have your questions answered if it's kind of something that I've created a lot of free stuff on, or we might kind of just glaze over it, which is a shame because, I create the free stuff this way you can get the most out of this time with me, but we just got to move. So we're going to go quickly. There'll be a recording. And if miss something or want to go over something again, you can watch the recording and pause it and watch it as many times as you want. Okay. So Ian is first. I'd like to start a formal button-down shirt brand. 50 to 100 pieces is a minimum I would be okay working with. 5,000 is something I'm good to start with. My question, I saw a factory on Alibaba called Mastery Manufacturing. They make button-downs and have shared letters of recommendation from their customers as well. Should I trust them? Contact the customers. Is this real? Is this true? I just did actually a video on, one of the popular scams that happens in Jaipur is everyone works with Roller Rabbit. They don't. They just say that they do. They even have gone as far as to create knockoffs of Roller Rabbit product. Because they think that just showing you a sample and saying, we made this is enough. And for most people, it is enough because why would someone lie about this? They do. So you want to go and you want to say to that brand that they're saying that they work with, hey, do you actually work with this factory? And if you do, what's your experience? And that's how you start to vet your supplier. Even if they work with your supplier, that's not a green go ahead and use them. There's still a lot of other vetting that you need to do, but that's the very first step that you can do since they've already provided you with some of that information. How much margin for error should I give my factory? The industry standard is 5%. So if you order 100 pieces, they could ship 105 over, or they could ship 95 under, and that's standard and that's okay. You only pay for what ships. So if you order 100 pieces and 95 ships, you pay for the 95. Now, where things get kind of gray is sometimes it's damaged, but it's still sellable. So if it's still sellable, technically, usually you have to take it for full price if there are additional damages. So that's kind of how that works. Right. What can I do effectively and organically market on Instagram? So we're not going to get to that. In the Launch My Conscious Line program, there's an hour-long lesson all about exactly what I do to go viral and how I do all of my social media planning. So big questions like this that require hours of explanation to be meaningful, or very broad questions like, how do I become famous, right? Like, how do you how do you even begin to answer something like that? Those won't be answered here, but specific questions I can do. So we're not going to get into that. That is, an hour-long lesson with probably like 3 hours worth of homework it takes people to get through the workbook and the prompts and everything else. So that's not that kind of question for this call. Um, what will I get if I work with you? So you can go onto the website and you can look at Launch My Conscious Line and you can see what's included, which is 3 months of weekly live calls, weekly lessons, weekly tasks. So I tell you week by week what to do. And if you just do it every week, you will launch. And it's in order and you just follow along and it's very, very simple. So that's kind of that. If you have other questions, you can DM me. But I encourage you, again, this is the kind of question that maybe you should have asked something more specific, or you should have just gone to the website and seen what I have. And I'm being kind of tough with you because this is the kind of stuff that gets people ghosted from suppliers. If you're asking them questions that are on their website, they're deleting your emails. If you're asking them questions that, you should know or are fairly obvious or are really broad, like, I want a sustainable fabric. Like, what do you mean you want sustainable? Do you want it to be recycled? Do you want organic? Do you want, right? Like, how, as a supplier, where do I go from here? When you ask these general questions, when you ask these questions that are, if I've got a lot of information about what I offer people and you're asking this question, it's probably going to go to the trash bin. I'm, pretty patient. I like helping new brands. That's why I do this stuff. That's why I'm telling you this now. But please be careful with what you email people because you only get one first impression. And like, I think a lot of people are under the impression that factories are desperate for business, and they so are not. They are at max capacity. There are more people trying to start brands than ever in like all of history. And there are less garment workers, that skilled garment workers than ever. So we've got a reduced labor pool and we've got more brands than ever. They're not looking for your business. They're looking for brands that will make their lives easier. They're looking for brands that will be easy to work with. So keep that in mind. I know I'm being a little bit like, I guess maybe mean, but it's better you hear it from me and then go into a conversation with the supplier in the best possible way. This way you get a yes from them, than have me be nice to you and just get tons of ghosted emails because you're not asking the right questions and you're not showing up prepared. All right, let's keep moving. Esther, ready-to-wear fashion brand for kids. The minimum order quantity I want is 50. I will be making them in my house. Total budget is 150K. My question is, how do I raise funds if I'm looking like I'm stuck? You do not need any more money if you have $150,000 to start your brand. That is more than enough to make a ready-to-wear fashion brand for kids with a 50-piece MOQ. 20,000 max is what you should be spending on your first season for product. And then maybe you could spend another 20 on marketing and all that type of stuff. If you wanted to, you could probably do the whole thing for under 20. So you do not need to be raising funds. You need to be thinking about how you're going to use the money that you have effectively. I've seen people with $1 million budgets fail. And I've seen people start with $2,500 and succeed. It is what you do with your dollars, not how many of them you have. You save your money, don't spend it all. It's great. If you're like a billionaire and you've got a ton still, I don't want to see you waste your money. So you start small and then you use the additional money to grow and scale. Having that extra money will make things easier for you, but spending it all up front won't guarantee success. So you don't need to be raising any money. Okay, Julie, high-end girls, tweens line, capsule collection, 7 pieces, 3 sizes, 10 pieces per size. So Julie, your MOQ is 30 pieces. The way we do MOQ is the style by color. So if I want to make this tank top and I want to make it in black and white, and I want to make it in 3 sizes, 10 pieces, my MOQ will be 30 pieces for the black and 30 pieces for the white, right? And in that 30 pieces, I can do 10 small, 10 medium, 10 large. So style and color is your MOQ, not broken down by size, not your total order. If you tell the factory your total order and you say my MOQ is 1,000 pieces, they're going to give you specific costing. They're going to give you specific things. And then if you're like, well, actually, it's broken down into 100 styles, I'm only making 10 pieces per style or whatever, they're going to be like, well, your price is going to double. This fabric doesn't get made in that low of an MOQ. So now you're going to have to use other fabric. Maybe they won't even want to work with you. So knowing MOQ is very, very important. And I just want to go over that because in the following questions, a lot of people didn't really understand what an MOQ was. We're manufacturing in USA. I'm based in Michigan or Massachusetts, currently working on product development with them. I have a brand name, working on the logo. I have a couple potential web designers, marketing companies. What is the best way to market my product and sell them online? Is hiring a digital marketing company worth it? What should my timeline if I want to launch? So I give a timeline in the free video. I would suggest you go back and you watch that because you can see, and I even go through if you're doing 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, what your timeline looks like and like how you should budget your money to accommodate that because you are going to be developing possibly season 2 before you've even made a penny on season 1. So you need to plan your budget like that. And that's all in the free video. I encourage you all to go back and watch it if you hadn't, because that's going to prevent you from a lot of money problems. And you're going to learn a lot of other interesting stuff about tech packs and where to find suppliers and things like that if you watch that video. It's not a sales video. I'm not selling you anything. I know a lot of times people are hesitant to watch these things because it ends up being like a 3-hour pitch. It's just information like this is. So please go back and watch it if you haven't, because it's going to be very, very helpful to you. Now, hiring a digital marketing agency, don't do it. Every time I've ever hired anyone for my business, they've lost me money. Every single time. I've gone through 5 ads agencies. I've had everything. I'm constantly testing. I'm constantly trying stuff with my own brands. This way my students don't lose money. But if you think that starting a brand, you'll hire a designer and they'll design the clothes, and you'll hire a salesperson and they'll sell the clothes, and you'll hire a marketing team and that will put your brand on the map, what are you doing? Starting a brand is easier now than ever. If you know that marketing person, like they they were really good at their job, they probably create their own product and market that. And that's what we see with a lot of really good people. A lot of really good people in ads, they've left ads, they've created a product and they run ads to their own product. And maybe they'll take like 1 or 2 clients. So no one knows your product as good as you do. No one cares about your brand as good as you do. I have recently fired a publicist. I've recently fired, like again, I'm constantly trying people and they never do a good job. My publicist got me no press. In 48 hours, I got myself 7 yeses to celebrities, Christina Applegate, Kathy Bates. They all wanted my product. And in 2 months, my publicist got me nothing. So you can do this yourself if you know what to do. And I teach the exact method that I did my entire press thing in the program, but if you're going to invest in hiring someone, just invest in learning because you'll do a better job yourself. And then when you hire someone, you can hire someone in-house and you can have much more clear objectives and reach like better goals if you're able to tell them, I want you to do this, this, and this. Whereas if you're just like, I don't want to bother to learn it, I'll hire someone else to do it. Another great example of this is I know someone changing the banner at the top of your website is a 30-second task. I know someone who got conned into paying like $300 because the person, well, we have to change the coding and this and that. And she didn't know any better because she never bothered to learn Shopify. Shopify is what you should all build your website on. And, she got basically scammed into paying all this money because she didn't know how to do it. So you need to be in your business for it to succeed, or else you're just going to hemorrhage money by experts telling you you need these things and them not working half as hard as you would work. Okay. And then when you understand how to do it, you understand how to hire the expert. You understand what to look for. You understand how long something should take. When the PR company was like, oh, it takes 2 months, I was like, no, it doesn't. Here, I've done it in 48 hours. They issued me a refund immediately, right? If I didn't know how to do that, we would have just been going back and forth forever. So it's important to learn how to do these things. Okay, next question. I'm not taking questions in this chat. You submitted your questions ahead of time, and those are the questions that I'm doing because we have a lot of questions. So just comment on what I'm saying if you have comments or further questions on what I'm saying, but please do not submit new questions because they will not be answered because we have a lot. Okay, so Eamon, gender fluid clothing brand, MOQ, very low, like 10 pieces each. Some of the pieces would be manufactured in Egypt and then shipped to Italy for finishing them up. Around 30,000 euros. How do I guarantee that people would buy my product given that I'm starting from nothing and I'm on my own? So I don't know if you've chosen this category because it's buzzy. Pregnancy wear is buzzy. Genderless is buzzy. What else has been buzzy? A lot of pickleball is buzzy. If you're picking something because it's like a buzzy niche, like it's getting a lot of press, that is not a reason to get into something. To me, this question means you don't understand this niche. You don't understand what they want. Because if you understand the niche and what they want and what's available and what's not available and the holes in that market, then you know going into it, you have a strong product. So if any of you are questioning, is this a good idea? You need to go back all the way to you don't ask me for suppliers. You're on step like 107 and you need to go back to day one and figure out, is it a good idea? You need to interview people. You need to go to events and see what's happening. You need to shop and sit in a store and watch and see what are people picking up? What are they putting back on the rack? What are they taking to the dressing room? Listen in the dressing room. What are they complaining about? Right? That's how you get to know your niche. I can't tell you that. Um, I know my niche. I know my niche, which is bras, specifically surgical bras. Like I know everything there is to know. I've talked to so many people, so many patients. I've tried on over 100 bras myself. I know that, and I know that well. But you need to know your niche. If you're making clothes for running or if you're making clothes for tall people, you need to do that type of research. You need to go in and you need to try every single pair of pants at the mall that's a tall size. And then you need to watch who's trying them on. And maybe you talk to them and say, hey, what do you think of those pants? That's how you, I mean, there's also a lot of other ways to do the research. In the program, I have like a questionnaire of, I think, like 20 questions that you should ask people. But if you're just doing this on your own, that's how you start doing it. That's how you get to know your niche. And if you don't know your niche and if you're hesitant, you need to, if you're hesitant on your niche, you're going to be hesitant on your product. You have no business reaching out to a supplier. You reach out to a supplier when you know everything you want to make, you have your tech packs done, you're ready and you're good to go. That's when you get to the supply chain. People like to start with the supply chain because it's the most nerve-wracking. They don't understand it. But your niche will determine your supply chain. If you want genderless clothing, okay, we could be doing wovens, we could be doing knits, we could be doing swim, we could be doing office wear. All of those are going to be different factories. So if you don't know what it is that you're making, I can't help you with the supplier. A supplier can't help you because we don't know what you're making, and all factories don't make all things. So it's very important that you go back, everyone, if you are unsure and really get sure. And like, listen, everyone gets their product made. If you want to get your product made, you'll get your product made. The success of your brand is understanding your niche. That is it. That's the secret to success. It's understanding your niche, where they hang out, and how to connect with them. Getting your product made, it will happen. No one ever believes it, but until they launch their brand and they're like, wow, getting the product made was the easy part. And then you go back to all that beginning stuff and you work on your marketing plan from there. Okay, Suki, I've been following your social media and website for a while, plus Googled a lot about how to start a fashion brand, but the more I read, the more overwhelmed and scared I feel about the first steps. Okay, so you want to start a dress label, only sell one piece dress. MOQ minimum order quantity do you need? As small as possible, below 10 in Malaysia or China. China is not the place for you. And with a budget of 2,200, you're probably going to want to do ready stock. The idea has always been on my mind, but I've hesitated because I've worried about making 20 to 30 dresses in different sizes and having no customers. Then I start to think about the second option of importing styles from Chinese wholesale suppliers, then transitioning the self-designed styles once I have a stable customer base with consistent order volume. While this isn't my ideal business model, it seems less risky. So yeah, I think that this is a good plan for a lot of people. Basically, if you don't know, it's called white labeling. You can contact a factory and they'll have a whole catalog, multiple catalogs sometimes of product that they make 1,000 pieces of, or they make 10,000 pieces of, and they'll sell that to you. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to pay for sampling, you don't have to pay for patterns, you don't have to pay for grading, you don't have to pay for any of that stuff. It's just ready to go. So you choose from the catalog, they'll put your label in it, you have a brand. The downside of this is there's lots of other people that are selling the exact same product as you. Bali Swim, they're famous for this. Everyone comes out with the exact same bikini. Then when it comes down to is the branding behind it. Now, where this can be helpful to you because your budget is so low is that you'll be able to practice everything. You'll be able to get your website set up. You'll be able to practice social media. You'll be able to practice making a line sheet. You'll be able to do photo shoot, do all the steps in your brand and practice for a very low amount. But you cannot have a scalable business doing this wholesale model because like everyone's got the same crap at the end of the day. You need to have unique styles to you. But it is a good way to start, and it is a good way to kind of get your feet wet in all the things that you need to do for your business. Okay. I'm not sure if this course is right for me, as I noticed a lot of your students are from US, Canada, and EU. I have students from, I think we're up to 60 different countries right now. So I've got students from everywhere. Okay. I know I don't offer payment plans. Laura. My name is Laura. I'm starting clothing and swim line. My swim is produced in Cancun, Mexico. My clothing in India. My MOQ is 50 pieces per style, and I assume that's per color. Keep that in mind, everyone. It's 50 pieces of this bikini top in red, 50 pieces in blue, 50 pieces in whatever. My question, how do you handle quality control remotely? I will be visiting India during production, but want to make sure that everything looks good during and after production. Oh, I will not be visiting. Sorry. So, your, and this was in the video. So right off the bat, I know that you didn't watch the video. Your best bet for quality control is having a perfect sample. What a lot of people do is they're told by their factories, we will correct this in production. No, it needs to be for perfect because if they can't do it perfect once, they can't do it perfect 100 times. What you're seeing in your sample is what you're getting in production. So that's like level one of quality assurance. You go through this whole sampling process, you get something from them, and it has to be perfect. As far as other quality assurance is as big of a task as product development. By asking for how do I do quality assurance, you're basically asking, how do I get a garment made? Right? It's a very long, complicated process. So there are a lot of ways we can't really get into all of them on the phone call, but I would say, what's going to keep you safe is having that perfect sample. And if you do that, you've done 50% of it. And especially if you're doing like 50-piece MOQ, it's relatively low risk. So you should be okay. And that is kind of as far, I think, as I can go because we have a lot more questions. If you had a specific question about quality assurance, I could have answered that. But that would be the general way to do it. Okay, Cynthia. Cynthia and startup brand is Jory Jabbit, which is a women's line focused on tops with interesting necklines, vintage inspired and simple and soft. Okay, I like this idea because it's something focused and it's something different. A lot of you want to start organic cotton or sustainable fabric brands. That is not a business. That is the bonus of the business. The business is a unique idea. So I want to start, with the interesting vintage necklines, that's something that other people don't have. And then it can also be made in sustainable fabrics, right? The sustainability component is the end also. Do all of yourselves a favor if you do want to make something sustainable. Google recent market data. And all the market data tells us is that everyone, yes, they want it, but no, they don't want to pay for it. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't. And you are setting yourself up for failure if your whole brand is based around the sustainability idea. You create a brand based on an idea and then make it sustainable. That's how you find success as a brand. You know, Walmart has organic cotton shirts. Everyone's doing it at this point. You need to have something special about your brand besides it being biodegradable or whatever it is. Okay. We're working with Lefty Production out of California for the first season. Um, I'm not going to say anything bad, but it sounds like you yourself are looking for someone else. And that's probably your gut telling you something correct. 78,000. So you're making 220 pieces MOQ, 5 to 6 styles, 13,000 units total. You say you have 78K includes marketing, web design, e-commerce, social media. Okay, the whole everything. We utilized a middleman for production. The cost of the fabric sourcing was included in the price per unit. I tell people never to let other people source their fabric because it's the biggest ripoff in the world. You can do it for free just as well. I'm guessing you spent a couple $1,000s on it. Always source your own fabric. Don't have someone else do it for you. But the factory was not able to dye to match our Pantone colors. Instead, they sourced fabrics that were close to the color, as close to the color was. So they gave you available fabrics that were close to your colorways. 50 pieces, 100 pieces, they should be able to dye your fabrics custom. So they just didn't want to go through the effort of doing it. I have people who are running 50-piece units right now in China, and we're doing custom colors for them. So you're now asking, would it be better if I work directly with a factory? Would these things not happen if I didn't have a middleman? And the answer is they'll still happen. And they're happening because you are giving the appearance that you don't know what you're doing and you're going to get taken advantage of, whether it's by a middleman or whether it's by a factory directly. If you don't know how to ask the right questions, say the right things, right? If someone told me 220 pieces, I can't have custom colored, I'd say, no, I know that people do it for 50. And then they probably would have come back and they said, oh, actually, we can do it, right? A factory would have done the same thing to you because everyone's trying to do as little work as possible for the most amount of money. But I'm telling you, I do 50-piece MOQs. I do custom colors at 50 pieces and it's run out of China. So it exists. Going directly to a supplier is not going to stop this from happening. Understanding the right things to ask is what is going to prevent this from happening. Okay. Bria eventually sell printed play suits in natural fibers like Selkie and Zimmerman. With only 500 Instagram followers, I don't have a strong enough engagement for even 50-unit MOQ yet. I don't have a manufacturing location preference. If I launched this year, I'd be comfortable with the 2K budget, which is why I'm considering this. More money for a more realistic budget. I'm thinking in the meantime of doing rentals and print on demand, which would give me time to build more community online and create a bigger sales funnel and get more data on what I should start my signature product. My question is, do you think it's a good approach? Will I save up more money for the quality I want, or am I thinking about this wrong? So, one of my clients, Beautiful Genius, she did print on demand for a long time. And when she realized the styles that were doing really well, she moved them into a factory and ordered her bulk and was able to do all these fun things like having reversible items and stuff like that that print on demand didn't allow her to do. So I'm a big fan of that. A lot of people think print on demand, I'm not a real brand. You absolutely are, and you can absolutely kill it doing print on demand. Now, where I'm mostly concerned for you is that you think that Instagram is your only sales source. Instagram, as TikTok we're learning right now, could go away tomorrow. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be in stores and wholesale. You need to be on your website. You need to be on Google SEO. You need to be and a million, you need to be where your customer is. So if they're on, if they read certain email lists, if they go to certain events, you need to be in all those places. Social media is great for continuing a conversation, but it is not your sales funnel. Hold on one second. And if you think one thing is the key to your success, if I just get it on this celebrity, if I just get it in this store, if I just hit 1 million followers, you'll never succeed. It's got to be everything. You have to be doing all the things to be successful. So I would change your mindset immediately, and I would start focusing on all the other funnels that your business needs to have to be successful. Okay. Gabrielle. Athleisure wear brand t-shirts, tank tops, sweatpants. I just may just start with t-shirts and tank tops and we'll add more products if my company becomes successful in shirts. For MOQ, the last thing I want to do is be sitting on stock I can't turn. I'd rather sell out and have to have people wait for products. Yes, absolutely. That is a strategy that everyone should also implement. Total budget is $20 to $50,000. This will be my first time producing t-shirts. I'm remembering watching a video where someone in apparel manufacturing was mentioning that in order to produce a quality t-shirt that's packaged properly, that you need to have it pressed before packing the garment. I own a 32 by 42 inch. So pressing, you have basically Gabrielle has a like it's like two things that clamp down for pressing. That is not how you press a garment. If you take a shirt and you press the seams, if you take this shirt, this sweatshirt, right? And this, you can see the shape of the sleeve and you press it, you're going to create a clothing item that looks like a paper doll's outfit. You'll have a sharp crease at the seam. The proper way of ironing is ironing, not pressing, and you're ironing the seams and you're ironing them flat. And it's a very tedious process when done correctly. I do not recommend that you, what MOQ are you saying you have? I would start with one or two pieces. I would put them on Friends and I would see what people think of them. If you don't know how clothing is pressed, I promise you're going to run into like 10 other issues that I'm not even sure what they are. I'm not saying don't sew your own clothes. I mean, Isabel Marant got started that way. She started sewing her own clothes because she didn't have money to pay for like new clothes. Um, you could start a great business that way, but you're going to do a lot of stuff wrong. So, maybe start with friends and family, have people test them, maybe do two, three, four rounds of testing, make sure everything is right. Find people that aren't yes people that aren't, you're amazing. Like that doesn't help anyone. You want people who are going to be honest with you and tell you the issues and then go from there. So that's my advice to you. If you want to sew your own clothes and based on the question you just asked me, which is a very basic manufacturing question that every manufacturer knows, you should start one or two pieces, try them on people, see how it goes, make some alterations, try them again, and start really, really slowly like that. And that's going to keep you safe. It's going to take a lot longer than I'm sure you want it to, but it's going to keep you safe. Okay. Llama. Evening gowns, MOQ 5 to 10 pieces, source fabrics from India, and then have them sewn in the UAE with a tailor. And then how can we calculate an estimation of an overall budget? So the way you make your budget is you look at how much money is in the bank. How much money do you have to spend? And again, this is another question where like you didn't watch the video. Because if you did, you would know this. And if you use the free resources, you would know this. But let's go over it for everyone really quickly. So the way you make your budget is how much money do you have to invest? There is a finite amount of money in your bank account that you can spare to do this. What is it? Is it $1,000? Is it 10? Is it 100? I don't know. Only you can answer that question. Based on that amount, we work backwards and we figure out what it is that you can make, how you can make, and we create a plan. So that's how you figure out your budgeting. Your budget is the money you have. And then you just work backwards. Maybe you want to make three dresses, maybe you make one. Maybe you wanted to make them in silk, you start off with rayon. There are different ways of finagling things to get you where you need to be. The cheapest I've ever helped someone was 2,500 is what we used to start for them. That was really difficult to do, but we did it. We were super strategic about what we did. And 4 years later, she's still in business and has a ton more product and is growing. So, those days are long gone of that tiny budget, but you take what you have and then you figure out how to make it work and you set a plan for the future. That's how you do your budget. Your budget is not, I'm going to crowdfund. Crowdfunding doesn't work anymore. It's not 2017. There are so many people who lost money crowdfunding. They purchased these items and the brand never launched. Or, the brand wasn't what it was supposed to be. Also, times are tough. The economy isn't great. People are holding on to their money. They're really not like, oh, let me buy this shirt that maybe I'll get in 6 months to a year. No, I'll wait till they launch and I'll get it, right? So crowdfunding, also the people who do really well on crowdfunding, they hire companies like Jalop, and they cost, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire, and they'll set up your campaign for you. And those are the people that are doing really well on crowdfunding. So whatever it is you have, we figure out a way to make it work. It's not, maybe I'll get this money, maybe I'll get that money. You have what you have, and we grow from there. That's how the budget works. Okay. I have a budget of 10,000. This is Cheryl. I have 10,000. I want to create 3 to 4 styles in several sizes and plus sizes in about 4 colors. Impossible. You need 10,000 to create 3 to 4 styles in one size range. No, because you need money still to market and do all that type of stuff. I would say 2 styles would be safe. Plus size requires a whole new pattern set. Petites require a whole new pattern set. And patterns, if you're making in the United States, can cost anywhere from $150 to $1,000. So if you make this shirt and you make it in normal sizing, then still, Cheryl, even if this is just for product, $10,000 for your production, it's not enough for doing all the sizes that you want to do. So if you want to make plus, you need to have a whole new pattern. You have to have a whole new set of samples. You have to whole other it's like designing a whole new style. So if you have 3 styles and you want to do regular sizing and plus sizing, it's like making 6. You are doubling your costs. And everyone needs to understand that. If you think you can take a medium and you can make it a 3XL or a 4XL, you're creating crappy product. There is no shortage of plus size these days. Again, we are not living in 2017. We're not living in 2018. There is so much plus size clothing, but it's all crap because every brand didn't want to get canceled. So they just scaled up their sizes. And when you get to plus size, the proportions of the body change. So you actually have to create a different pattern that has different proportions than a petite, than standard sizing. Don't do plus if you're not going to do it right. Take anything away from this, let it be that, because I'm so tired of people making bad plus size clothing. Um, Anyway, so yes, your budget is not going to allow for that. I'd encourage you to think about why you want to do plus. Again, is it just buzzy and that's why you're trying to do it, or is it something that you really care about? Because if you really care about it, you need to do it correctly. My question is, how do I inquire where the fabrics or the dyes and block designs are created without insulting or angering my suppliers? If they get upset, they're probably hiding something, so don't work with them. That's it. They should be able to offer some sort of transparency with you. And if you don't feel comfortable with the amount of transparency that they can offer, then they're not the supplier for you. And that goes for anything in business or life. If someone gives you an answer you don't like, that's a fair question. You move on to the next thing, right? Um, Celine, from Malaysia, the brand I want to start is a lifestyle brand centered around making clothing exclusively from natural fabrics. I'm currently working my way through the design phase. I'm actually just a few weeks out from doing research, but I came across your blog. The free content has helped me. Very happy to hear that. Okay. If possible, I would like to use solely organic fabrics. Are there countries that are better known for their organic textiles, better quality pricing that I should pay more attention to? If you feel comfortable sharing, what price point would I be getting ripped off? So it doesn't work that way because there are different qualities within. There's, higher quality organic cotton, lower quality organic cotton. Your MOQ depends, right? If you're making 1,000 pieces, your pricing is going to be very different than 10 pieces. So I can't tell you you're being ripped off at this price. I can tell you this. People often, when they get into sourcing, think that like, I don't know, they think they're in some sort of like game show where they've got to get the lowest price possible. You never want to go at the lowest price. They're probably the most desperate and they're probably the worst at making the product. What you want to do is you want to find someone in the middle. You don't go with the highest, you don't go with the lowest. You find someone who's kind of in the middle of that. And that's kind of the best advice I could give for pricing without knowing all of the details of your brand. Um, people are always like, I want cheaper pricing. And I'm like, sure, I can get you cheaper pricing, but you're going to have a lot more damages. You're going to have a lot more delays. You're going to have a lot more issues. At the end of the day, spend an extra dollar on your garment and like, let's not have headaches for, weeks worth of headaches. You have to kind of think of it like that. Okay, so Renee from Bristol, starting an Indian craftsmanship, but not ethnic wear. There are so many brands, specifically in Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, doing this. I need to know what makes you different. I need to know what makes you different than every other block print brand out there, every other embroidery brand out there. There are so many. You need to have like its own vibe. It can't just be like art East meets West, right? Like that's all been done to death. I'm sorry if this feels harsh hearing it, but like I can't tell you how many people I meet in India that have these block print brands and they're desperate to unload their goods. Nobody wants them because there's a ton. So, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying don't use these types of manufacturing techniques. I'm just saying, like, make your brand more than that. Make your brand more than sustainable, right? That's the icing on the cake, not the cake. What is the cake of your brand? You need to go back. Question, can you start a brand with a very little budget? Yes, we've gone over that, but really I think your takeaway from this is like we need to figure out what you're about. It's not just craftsmanship. Okay, Lori, from Nova Scotia, Canada. I currently make sew and sell gymnastics bodysuits and shorts to a local gymnastics club. I've had success so far and would like to work on growing my business this year. However, to have a factory manufacture my suits and shorts, I have to either create my own tech packs or use the manufacturer's patterns. We'll be designing the prints for the fabric. Do you have any advice on which way to go? As a small business, I cannot afford a large MOQ. What would be a good way to estimate the cost of each bodysuit and shorts? So your factory will tell you that and red flags when looking for a manufacturer. So let's just answer your first question because you're putting the cart before the horse with all the other ones. You, in my opinion, absolutely need to have a tech pack made and have your own pattern made because that's what people are buying from you and that's where you're seeing success. So whatever it is that you're using, people like. And if you use the factory pattern, maybe it's too low, maybe it's too high, maybe who knows what issues are, maybe who knows? There could be a million issues with it. So you absolutely need to invest in getting your own tech pack made. And that's a whole other can of worms to go through that we don't really have time. I've got free resources on tech packs. I've got free resources on that type of communication. If you want to go like really into depth with it, we can work together. But be careful with who you hire, especially off of Fiverr. People get a tech pack, it looks legit. Oh, look at these numbers, look at these sketches. And like so many times I look at it, I'm like, this isn't reality. This isn't physics. We cannot make something with these dimensions. And you don't know any better because you don't know the dimensions you're supposed to look for. Now you've paid $500 and literally we're tearing it up and starting over. So if you do hire, what your takeaways right now are yes, you need to do your own pattern because that's what people are loving. So you need to keep going and doing that and not switch it up. And two, how are you going to get the tech pack made without, going wrong? And that's going to be the same things that we do when we find any sort of supplier. Ask for references, speak to those references, talk to the factory that's making it. They could probably point you in the right direction of people to hire. Do your research on these people. Ask to see garments they produced. What's something that you produced for someone that you made the pattern for? All of that stuff, right? That we ask every supplier you need to do. So that's your takeaways. We've got to keep moving. Keep your patterns or keep your styles, make your own patterns, and be careful with who you hire to make those patterns for you. Dominique, also in Canada, wants to start a bridal collection, looking for suppliers. With the unstable markets, with the US change in administrations and foreseen challenges relating to China, I'm unsure where to source partners. Source partners. You don't source partners. You source garments, you source fabric, you source yarns, you source things. You work with partners, you find partners. This is not just you, Dominique. This is like I get an email once every 3 days. I need to source some partners. I need to source some suppliers. Don't use this terminology because it shows me you have no idea what you're talking about. And when you tell me you have no idea what you're talking about, I know that I can take advantage of you, right? So now all of a sudden your prices are higher. Maybe those 220 pieces that you ordered, oh, we can't do custom colors, right? Yeses become nos when I know you don't know better. Not me personally. I'm speaking as like a supplier, right? So Spend the time to learn correct terminology. A lot of what we do in office hours is people send me their communication with factories and I go through it and I'm like, this is how we're going to make this sound a lot more professional. I took someone's thing, it was like, I don't know, like 1,000 word email and I made it like 30 words. Like that's what factories want to see, right? And when you learn how to do that, you open doors with suppliers. So that's one vocabulary thing. Another one that people get wrong a lot of times is mill, factory, house. Fabrics are made in a mill. They then go to a dye house or a print house to be dyed or printed. They then go to a cut and sew factory to be sewn. There's no such thing as a fabric factory. There's no such thing as a dye factory. Sometimes I use those words for SEO because SEO likes it. But if you're talking to someone in the industry, you never say uh, clothing mill. It's a fabric mill, a dye house, a print house, a finishing house where you'd get like, waterproofing finish on it, um, a cut and sew factory. Other than MOQ is the other one that we've kind of done to death in this call that you want to get right to show people you know. And there's a million other words that you need to know, but those are the big ones that everyone always, always, always gets wrong. So there's that. Now with China, I'm not stopping working in China. Even if China puts 100%, the US puts 100% tariff on my China products, it's still cheaper than made in the United States by a lot. Um, I like working in China. I think that banning an entire country is a bold and or like saying you won't work with a country, boycotting countries is a very uneducated way of going about things. There are individuals in countries, China, wherever, and they make their individual decisions and they are not bad people. You need to know your supply chain. Making in America doesn't mean it's made ethically. There are slaves in our country working in LA. Google it. It's documented. There are also people in China that work in beautiful. When I worked in the Philippines, I didn't want to leave. Their factory was nicer and had better working conditions than my office in Midtown Manhattan. Swear to God. They had a gym, they had really nice snacks. Did I want to sit at a sewing machine and sew all day? Absolutely not. Like that's really hard work. But they were 100% treated better than I was in that office in New York. So the country that you make in is not a blanket statement. There are good factories in every country and there are bad factories in every country. And it's your job to figure out if you're working with one of the good ones or the bad ones as a brand, if that's what you care about, and you should care about that. So please keep that in mind with everything that you do, like you have to judge based on the individual, not on the group. Okay. Joy. I'm starting a closed loop baby clothing service. My main concern is ethical labor practices and verifying safe materials. I'm open to manufacturing wherever this is possible. Lowest MOQ would be 300 for one item, pants, and highest might be 550 for others, onesies. I have 20K on cash on hand to invest, but plan to do a pretty comprehensive crowdfunding campaign to cover the major costs. No, don't rely on a cent of that money. If you can make some of it, congratulations. Super happy for you, but you cannot base your plan on any of that. You have 20,000, period. If you're making two styles at 300 pieces per style, let's say one colorway. I'm pulling up my calculator right now. So you're making 300 pieces times two styles. That's 600 pieces total. Let's say each one costs $8 landed. You're at 4,800. Okay, you're safe. You can do that. Your budget allows for it. Now you have to think about the sampling, the shipping, the pattern, the grading, all those things. You should be fine if you're only making one color and one style. So you start adding more colors, you're going to start increasing all of that. But you should be okay because we kind of just did the math for that. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the pre-order stuff. Your plan isn't hinging on that, which is great news. And it's just extra if that's the case. And I hope it works out for you. But for everyone here, you cannot base your success on a Kickstarter. How to source reliably. I read the New York Times article about how the certification process for organic cotton is corrupt. We always hear about horrible factory conditions, etc. I want to start a brand that doesn't engage with any of that from day one, but it seems impossible to trust what I'm being told about materials and manufacturers. Seems like the only way to verify that everything is on the up and up is to manufacture domestically. Even then, no, no. We just went over that. And even then, there are abuses happening. Okay, good. How can a startup navigate the ethical issues? So, for me, this is a very, very long, long question. And there are things that you can do when you meet with your supplier and questions to ask, but I'm going to give you the most general advice possible. And that is the vibe check. When you go into that factory, what is the vibe? And this is why I don't like people to start working in India or China for their first collection who've never worked in fashion because India's got its own thing going on, right? We don't wear helmets on motorcycles. Babies, there's like, two kids and an adult on a motorcycle cruising down the highway. There's a lot of stuff happening that like might be unethical that then you'll see at a factory and it's hard to determine what is cultural and what is the factory being unethical, right? Now, if you're working domestically, you know your culture, you know what happens and is normal, you can go in and you can say, this isn't normal. And it allows you to do that. So that's why if you really care about ethics, you start where you are because you have a very good gauge of what's normal and what's not normal. China, we have, kids, India too, kids playing at the factory. That's, it's normal. It's how it is. It's not child labor, right? A lot of people, this must be child labor. Like, no, they're like playing in the sand. But it's hard for you to understand what's happening if you don't understand the culture. So start, if you care about like learning this, start where you are. And then you're going to go in and you're going to see how things are, right? So I went to my Walmart factory that I worked with in the Philippines. Again, amazing. There was the owner and there was one woman below the owner. And she had her door open all the time. And anyone in that factory, from someone on the sewing line to her merchandising team, could go into her office anytime they wanted and complain about anything. These are the complaints she got. I don't like the music that's being played. I want different snacks in the canteen. I want my seat moved because this person is annoying me. If they're complaining about things like that, they probably have it pretty good, right? They're not like, I'm hungry, I need to stop working, right? They're complaining of it's kind of first world problems to like that meme, right? Now I went to an ethical women's empowerment factory and they said all the right things. If you take pictures of the women, make sure that you show them because we don't want them to feel like animals at the zoo. If you know anything about Indian culture, people here love to have their photos taken. I cannot leave my home without someone asking me one photo. I even have people in villages ask me to take their photo on my phone because they have like Nokias and they don't have smartphones. I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? And they're like, we just wanted our photo taken, like the experience of it, right? So if you're familiar with Indian culture, you're familiar with people like their pictures taken. These women, you want to see your photo? Sewing, sewing, sewing. They wouldn't stop sewing. Like, this is weird. This is very weird. Normally, we're joking, we're laughing anytime I go into like these, especially like ethical factories. So I start pushing and I'm like, what's going on here? Turns out she had created a system similar to Hogwarts, where if they did a good job, they got more points and they got more pay. If they did a bad job, like they didn't produce what they were supposed to produce or made mistakes, they got less pay. So they were all afraid to stop working because they didn't want to get less points. That's not empowerment, right? So we've got a Walmart factory with a great vibe. And then we've got this empowerment factory selling their, we save women that has them so scared to stop working because then they'll get less pay in their paycheck. You have to go, you have to meet them, you have to like suss it out. And if I didn't know, because I've lived in India for 10 years, people love to get their photo taken. I might not have picked up on that. I might not have said, this is weird. Like, why don't you want to see these photos? And then I might not have investigated a little further and pushed for those other questions. So if you really do care about ethics, start where you're at. Is it going to be a lot more expensive to produce in Europe and the United States? Absolutely. But you're going to learn a lot. And then when you go overseas, you're going to have such a better base of knowledge than people that just jump overseas and they don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's up, what's down. Okay, let's continue on. That was long. That was a little bit of a tangent. Christina, underwear brand. MOQ, 3 to 5K, depending on budget and cost of production, ideally India or Vietnam. India is not very good for underwear. India does not have good stretch fibers. Elastic, stretch, it's not really known for that. I do my underwear in China. Um, and I find it's better quality and cheaper. There are certain places that I don't put product. Outerwear, I tend to do more in China, and underwear, I tend to do more in China. So I would reconsider. Total budget to start is 10K. So if you're making 5,000 pieces of one style, and then your, let's say it costs $3, that's already $15,000. So your MOQ is not 5,000. Um, and that was conservative. Like my underwear for nudity, I think I spend like $5 and something. And then landed, it's like six, maybe. No, landed, I think it's like five. Um, so you're at a budget, your MOQ is lower, which means if you reached out to a supplier and said my MOQ is 5,000, by the time you got to production, you'd be like, well, actually, I need 2,000 or 1,000 or whatever. And then they'd be like, well, maybe we don't want to work with you now, or maybe we're going to raise your prices a lot. So you figure this out now before. So you're not even at the stage of finding suppliers. You're at the stage of like figuring out your budget. Manufacturing in China versus other places, in your opinion, given the current. Okay, so this was that. We already went through that type of a question. In your video, you mentioned we may not need a tech pack, but given my product would have proprietary measurements, I don't think proprietary is the right word here. Custom would be the right word. Would not have a tech pack already created before reaching out to these factories put me in a disadvantage. No. And also there are other ways of creating and sharing your ideas without having a tech pack. So when I say you don't need a tech pack, that doesn't mean that you don't need to give the factory information. It means that there are ways of DIYing your own tech pack, and that's a full lesson in Launch My Conscious Line. That's like an hour and a half long, and I teach you literally how to create a tech pack and how to communicate your designs, not drawing, not sewing, not anything. Anyone could do it. I used it when I worked in factories all the time. And that's what you use. It's not that you don't give them any information, it's that you give it to them in a different way that you're capable of doing so you don't have to hire other people to do it. If I were to make a pair of underwear out of modal and elastane and my goals are soft with stretch, would I want to use knit or woven modal? According to what I have found, I believe knit. I'm actually going to release a free lesson on like Fabric 101, which will, I think, help a lot of people because finding a supplier, you need to know what kind of fabric you want before you can even talk about finding suppliers. But you're going to want knit. Underwear is made out of knit fabric because it's the most stretchy. You're not going to want woven, even if it's four-way stretch, it's not going to be comfortable at all. You want knit fabric. Yeah, that's the end of your question. Okay, perfect. Four-way stretch just means it has elastane in it. So knits naturally stretch this way. They don't really naturally stretch vertically. When you add elastane in, they can stretch both ways. That's a four-way. It sounds fancy, but there's nothing special. It's just a knit with elastane. Now, two-way stretch for wovens, wovens don't stretch this way and they don't stretch this way. You add stretch, you have one-way stretch. If you add stretch this way, you add stretch this way, you have two-way stretch. But still, that's not comfortable for something like underwear or leggings or anything like that. That's maybe you put that into jeans and the four-way stretch will add more comfort. That's what you're adding there. And don't make underwear out of woven materials. I know there are like some of these like granny panties that like some like indie Brooklyn designers are doing where they're making these like very puffy underwear and bras. I don't know. I don't think anyone's actually wearing those under their clothes because it seems incredibly uncomfortable to me. So you want knit. Okay. Ankara or Haiua. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing names wrong. I'm doing my best. Resort wear brand, regular or plus size. Again, if you're doing plus, do it right. MOQ 25 to 50 pieces per style to test out the market. I'd like to make either three styles in two colorways or six in two colorways as well. I'm thinking about Turkey, easy access for me, or China for logistics, in-house production, more control for me. I don't know what in-house production means. That's not a term, really. In-house production means like you're creating it. in-house. So like if you have an in-house publicist that's like your employee. Um, I don't necessarily know if you should be hiring people, maybe a freelancer. That's not in-house though. Hiring a freelancer isn't in-house. What is your total budget to start your brand? 5,000. That includes everything. Okay, so we've got 5,000. You didn't watch the video because I do this on the video. 5,000. We're going to divide it by two. Your budget for product is 2,500. Now, if you want to make 25 styles, 25 pieces, three styles, two colorways, three styles times two colorways is six different SKUs, six different designs, times 25 pieces, that's 150 pieces total. Times, let's say $30 for garment, you're at 4,500. Your budget is 2,500. So you are not ready for your question, which is how can I identify and work with a manufacturer abroad that handles everything from sourcing and product development to production? You need to go back. You need to look at your budget. You need to figure out how many styles you can realistically make. You need to choose what those styles are because I could find you someone who will make 25 pieces of woven men's swimsuits, but that does you no good if you want, women's whatever. You're making women's resort wear. Is it knit? Is it woven? Is it lace? Is it printed? Is it dyed? Right? You need to have all these things before you reach out to a supplier. Your styles have to be done. When you send your first email to a supplier, you are including the styles that you want to make. And if you don't have the styles that you want to make, you're including images of things from the internet. I want to make a dress similar to this. Um, so you're not ready for a supplier at all. And unfortunately, this is like a mistake I see a lot of people make and why a lot of people don't get answers. Okay, Shriyasi, Indian woman living and working in Amsterdam. I'm very early stages of building a conscious small batch clothing brand handcrafted in India for the European market. I only want to focus on making high quality unisex shirts that specialize in Indian traditional hand weaving. What is high quality? Like, what is that? Um, I hate it when people are like, I want to make high quality. Like, who the hell wants to make bad quality? Like that's the goal for everyone, right? But what makes it high quality? Is it that you can put it in the washing machine 100 times and the color doesn't fade? Is it easy care? So you put it in the dryer and it doesn't shrink? Like, what is this high quality? You have to define it. And this is again another common mistake that a lot of people make when they are reaching out to suppliers, you're not giving them enough information. You're being very broad. And unfortunately, an email like that goes straight to the garbage. So, like, what defines your high quality? Is it just handmade? That's not high quality. That's handmade, right? And handmade isn't always higher quality. It's often lower quality than the machines. Does it have to pass certain testing? Is burst testing, seam rippage testing? There's so many there's a book this thick of tests that determine quality, and it's done in a laboratory. It's called the AATCC. They make tests, and you can test your garment and you can test your fabric, and it's endless tests that people use to determine quality. That's what quality is. So if you want a quality item, you say it needs to pass this in the AATCC test 30275. That's quality, right? Not what you just asked me. Okay. I found my suppliers, get several samples made, created a social media handle, and claimed the domain for my website. However, yet to test how this model will scale. I'm still unsure how much demand there is for this type of product. If you don't know what your demand is, you should have never made samples. Period. For everyone else who's, three steps behind, if you are nervous, what is the demand? Should not be talking to a supplier. How do I gauge demand effectively and figure out who my target customers are? You need to go back and you need to go back and you need to talk to your suppliers and ask if it's even possible to make 10 to 20 units per SKU, which you're asking about now. Um, and then you need to ask them if they do 10 to 20 units because they're like a tailor. How do we scale this? What if you get an order for 100 pieces? Is it even scalable, right? I think you got to go back to the beginning. You're asking about legal structure. I'm not going to continue your question. I'm going to tell you though, you need to go back to like day one. You are on, again, like some of the other questions, you're on step 74 and you need to be on step like 3 right now. Um, Really. You'll waste so much money getting into the manufacturing stuff before you're ready. It's the biggest waste of money. And if you don't know your market, well, now once you start doing all this research, maybe all the things you sampled are like not what they want. So now you've got to start over. You've got all these samples and all this money spent, and now you're starting from point zero and doing it all over again. So, you need to make sure your foundation is solid. And it's so annoying to hear, what's your niche? What's your why? Right? Every like influencer selling a course, like finding your why. Um, but you have to have that locked down because that's going to affect who makes your clothes. That's going to affect how you sell your clothes. It's going to affect everything. We have someone who, they're making clothes specifically, Nikki, with Alpha Brava for lawyers, women's suits for lawyers. She was like, now that Christmas is over, what do we do? And I said, well, the bar exam is coming up, and all those people need suits for their first jobs, right? They're lawyers or interns that are getting their first law student interns who are getting their first job, and they need outfits to wear into the office because they've been college students and college students don't wear suits, right? By knowing your niche, you know all these alternative avenues to go down that everyone else isn't. If you think you're going to run ads and you're going to compete with Reformation and Gap and whoever, you're not. You need to find something really, really niched and go down that path. And that's what's going to lead to success and creating something for those people. Okay, let's keep going. I cannot tell you how important the fun, right? She didn't make a dress, a suit brand for all women. She didn't make a suit brand for, people who want to wear wool instead of polyester. She made it specifically for lawyers. Now that opens the door to all these lawyers networking groups, right? Super niche, right? And they're going to say yes. Same with my bras. I didn't create, a general bra line. I created specifically for people with breast cancer. That's why when I emailed Christina Applegate within, I don't know, 2 hours, her publicist got back and said, absolutely, yes, send one back because the cause was personal to her. I didn't, if I was just making regular bras and I was like, hey, Paris Hilton want to wear a bra, like I'm probably getting a no or a no answer. So when you have your niche, you can target those people and it makes selling your item and scaling so much easier. Same with finding suppliers. How I just explained all that, your supply chain process is going to go exactly the same. It's all based on your fundamental core of a brand. Okay, Karina. High quality natural materials, luxury feel. I don't know what any of these words mean. We've gone over this though. You need to define them. What is high quality? I get polyesters from China that cost twice as much as silk because they're like insane polyesters that the fabric is amazing, right? Like most people think silk is quality. You have to define what the quality is. My budget is around 5,000 euros at the moment. MLQ 20 pieces if possible because I have clothing items. I would like to start with 3 sizes. Okay. How can I start wholesale and should I? Absolutely. Everyone should be doing wholesale. If you think you're doing direct to consumer, you're setting yourself up for failure. Right now, what brands are seeing is they're making more money on their wholesale accounts than they are on their direct to consumer because getting traffic to your website is expensive. Facebook ads are ridiculously expensive right now. Some brands even are losing money acquiring their customer, and they're hoping that they make the money back when the customer reorders. So if their customer orders something for $100, it costs 50 to make, the profit's $50, say, it costs them $60 to acquire the customer in ads. That math is not accurate. Do not quote me on that. I'm just kind of throwing out numbers, but you could see the cost of acquisition is worth more than the profit, which means that they hope to get them in their funnel, their email funnel, retarget them and get them to buy something else. Because when they do that, then they become profitable. You need to be in wholesale. The common, I don't want to do wholesale because I could sell the shirt for $100 on my website. And then I have to sell it to them for 50, I make less money. You have to reframe how you think about these things. By having wholesale, even if you're making less money, you're increasing your MOQ. And when you increase your MOQ, you decrease your costs. So now you're making more money on your website and you're making more money out of the things that you're also selling. You're also getting free marketing because you're in a store next to all these brands that people know and trust. okay, if I'm buying my Seven for Humanity jeans here and this brand is here too, they must be somewhat reputable if they're in the same store, right? You're getting free reputation, you're getting free marketing because that boutique, that store is driving people into the store to shop. And you're helping your overall budgeting by getting more orders, even if you're making less money and saving money on your production because of economies of scale. So it is something that everyone should absolutely do. I can't teach you how to do it. Again, that's like 2 hours worth of lessons and like lots of tools. And we go through like a lot of line sheets and lookbooks and things like that, but I can tell you you need to do it. So, learn it from me, learn it from someone else. You need it these days to be a successful brand. You can't just be D2C. You can't be drop shipping. You can't be doing all these buzzy things that people did pre-pandemic. They are not viable businesses these days. And the people who are telling you that they're viable businesses are selling a course to get you to do it, right? They're not doing it themselves. They're take this course and learn how to do it. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Um, I'm telling you, Amazon doesn't work these days. I bet a lot of you, if you're here, you probably get the same ads that I get. If you can make a notebook and Amazon sells 1 million notebooks a day, and imagine if you just had 1% of that. If you're not on Amazon's top page, you're getting zero orders. And to get on Amazon's top page, you have to pay like buckets in ads. Like it's a whole game that people play, but they don't tell you that. They just sell you this dream, like make a notebook. How I make passive income, making stories for kids that I sell on Amazon, right? No, no. It's a whole game, and they're investing a lot of money into the back end of the ads, which they don't tell you. Um, I dabble in Amazon. I know a lot about it. So I know that this scam has been going on for a while. Anyway, moving on, you need to be doing wholesale is basically what I'm saying. Anyone that tells you that you don't, anyone that's telling you Amazon, direct to consumer, any of that stuff is giving you very old, outdated advice. Okay. Amber, from Pennsylvania, bags and accessories. When in the process, do you just say the sample is okay enough to push out into the world? Do you concede to not finding the perfect material and just move on? The eco-friendly fight is someone I believe in, but then I second guess myself on too. Do customers really care? I want to believe they do. Most don't. If your product is ugly and it's eco, no one's buying it. It has to be the right product and it also has to be eco, right? So if it's not the right product and you're just like, oh, it's eco, like that's an almost impossible sell. So if it's the right product and it's eco, you're in a great place. If it's the wrong product and it's eco, don't do it. It won't sell. Because no one's like, oh, this isn't very cute, but like it's sustainable. No one's gonna buy it, right? So you have to make sure that it's right. Now, at a certain point, this brings up a great thing, and I say this the first day of Launch My Conscious Line to everyone, and I'm like, whatever you're envisioning your product is, it's not going to be that. You're going to have to make changes. Your brand isn't going to be exactly what you're envisioning now, but by setting up your core and setting up what's important to you, as you have to make these concessions and changes to your product, you will be staying true to yourself. Great example is people are like, well, I want this color green, and if I don't get this color green, no one's going to buy it. They don't know the difference. They're not like at the store, like, oh, if only this was 3 shades more yellow. No one says that. They either like it or they don't. And having it a little bit this or a little bit that isn't going to change that. Now, if it's like super ugly or the color is muddy or the print is messed up, yeah, people are going to be like, what is this? But if it's a little different and it still looks good, no one knows the difference except for you, and they're not going to care. So, these decisions that you're asking me to make for you, I don't know you, I don't know your product, I don't know your customers, I don't know any of these questions. Like it could all be totally fine and you should just move forward. Or it could be like, 1,000 red flags and you shouldn't. That's kind of where things become case by case. Maybe you need a community, maybe you need to, shop this out a bit and show some people that are going to give you honest feedback. Asking friends and family for feedback is the worst idea. You want people in your niche. Those are the people that you want to be giving you their opinion. Your cousin and your best friend are not your customers. Your customers are your customers, and that's who you want to be asking, like, what do you think about this? Okay. That is everything. Woo, okay. That's it. I'm gonna quickly just skim through these questions. While I do, I'm gonna go through the chat and skim through the questions. While I do, if you're interested in getting 50% off Launch My Conscious Line, raise your hand or send me a message. or just raise your hand. That I think would be the easiest. And I'll make a list. Use the little emoji if you can. You go to React at the bottom of your screen where the heart is, and you can, no, maybe it's not React. You go to, I think the dots. You click the three dots by your name, and then you should be able to raise your hand. So let's do that. I'm going to quickly, if you don't win, I have a code for how much is off? I think it's 300 off. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. No, the code's for $500 off. And that's good until the end of tonight. I don't extend the codes at midnight. It goes, so you can this, and the code is for 500 off, but don't use it yet. Winter 25 AMA. Winter 25 AMA is the code. Okay, hold on. Thank you for the orientation. How much is the course? The course is $3,750. You get 500 off now, so it's 3,250. That's 3 months of weekly office hours where you get to ask me questions and I don't mute you. I have you all muted because I don't know who you are. I don't know what you might do on this call. But like we had the supplier in the beginning, right? So that's why you're all muted. But in the normal calls, we work through stuff. You also are in the WhatsApp group where it's like 24/7 chatting with everyone, with me and with other people. So you get to share your ideas. And it's really fun because everyone's super engaged and sharing what they're working on in real time. So you get to see everyone create their brands. And we have a lot of people that like meet in real life, which I think is nice. So people like become friends. And then we have weekly lessons and weekly checklists, which is basically going to, a lot of you are in step, like I said, you're like trying to do week 13 when you need to be at week 2. And if you follow the steps, then you get to where you need to go in proper time. I'm missing MOQ styles. Okay. I think we got everything. Have you ever gotten a perfect sample and then received super not the sample you were expecting after it's all made and sent to you? Yeah, that does happen, but it happens a lot less. And like I said, we're already over time. I can't get into like a half an hour, 45-minute lesson about how to do quality assurance. All I can really do right now is tell you like your best bet is the sampling process. And then, trying to figure out a good quality assurance process. But for now, like make sure your sampling is perfect. And like they'll tell you usually, like, and you could say, if is anything going to be different in production? What are changes that might be made? Something like that. Okay, let me write down quickly everyone who has messaged me or there's a code I want to take the course. So, I mean, I'm going to do the giveaway first. So maybe you'll win, Cheryl. Just give me 1 second. We have Natalia, Diane, Karina, Sean, iPhone. I don't know who you are. Christina, Charlotte, Jordana, Eamon, News, Pat, Bet, the Bay, Amber. And then in the DMs to me, Eris, Mm. This isn't the most elegant way of doing this. Elsie. Celine. I didn't get you, Celine. If you didn't hear me say your name, Cheryl, right? Okay. If you didn't hear me say your name, message me right now. Prat the Biha. I think that's everyone. If you didn't hear me say your name, Rena. Okay. Anyone else? Going once. Bua. Going twice. And we are closing it. Okay, someone who didn't raise their hand, give me a number between uh 1 and 40, or give it between 1, 2, 3, 4. Give it between 30 and 40. And I'm gonna scramble these a little. If you didn't raise your hand, give me a number. These are all scrambled up. First number was 37. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 37. The winner is Elsie. So DM me your email and I will send you a special code. For everyone else, the code for $500 off, which is only good for today, is again winter 25 AMA. And then I included the link to purchase the checkout link here. Nope, that says okay. Oh, wait, I just only responded to, sorry, I'm not sending this to everyone. Here is the link, and then winter 25 AMA. Here it is. Okay, any other questions before we go? You can type them in. I think I got everything. Dan says, thank you. Thank you for a very informative session. You're welcome. I think a lot of times people are a little bit shocked by my approach. But I think, this is a really difficult industry, and Um, if you've been trying to find suppliers, I'm sure you've kind of realized that by now. And sometimes, sometimes you need to hear things that you don't want to hear. And that's what's going to help you with success. I remember when I first created my first website, and this is when Shopify was like just getting started, and my website was so bad. And everyone was like, it's amazing. And I was like, yeah, it is amazing, because like I never thought in a million years I'd be able to make my own website. Um, but, I did, and I was very proud of it. And I had one person that was like, this is horrible. Like, you need to change this, you need to change this, you need to change that. And I was like, excuse me? Like, everyone loves it. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Like, she's right. Like, all these things will make it better. I did all of these things wrong that I shouldn't have done. And it helped. It helped so much. Like, my sales increased, my reactions when I was pitching press increased, everything got better. So, it's hard to hear something that you've been working on for so long isn't that great, or you're doing it wrong or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's what makes you and your brand better and allows you to compete and allows you to, be the best that you can be. All right. Thank you for everything. Love your approach. You're more straightforward and no BS than other viral fashion consultants online. Well, that's also because I have a business. This isn't really, it is my business helping people, but I have a real consultancy business too, where I work with brands that are already established and I help them make their things. So I'm not like a course creator. I have a business, and then during the pandemic, a lot of people reached out to me and wanted to start brands, and I just couldn't take them all on. And that's why I created this program, because 95% of the information is the same for everyone. And then it's that 5% that will make or break you. And that's why you shouldn't learn things online, because that 5%, they give information that's good for, 95% of everyone. But if you're in the 5%, it's wrong for you. And that's where office hours comes into play, because then we're working directly with your brand and your needs, right? What's right for one person might not be right for you. The supplier that's right for them might not be right for you, even if they're your competitor, even if they're making the same thing as you. They could be a terrible fit for you for a whole variety of reasons. So I need to remember that. Looking forward to the Fabric 101. Yes, keep your eye on your email. I will be sending this. How do I know if the course or working one-on-one is better? Can I reach out offline? Yeah, just if anyone has questions after this, you can email me. It's hello@shopvirtueandvice.com. Here, I'm going to put it at hello@shopvirtueandvice.com. It's the same email that you get all the emails that you've been getting. That's me. I answer it, I read it. So you can email me there. I don't know why it keeps sending people private messages. I'm trying to send it to everyone. This is a little buggy today. So there's my email. You can email me for private lesson, like one-on-one mentorship. We go really fast. Like, we are moving in 4 sessions, like your samples are getting made in 4 weeks. Whereas in the program, like it's going to take a lot longer to kind of go through and DIY it. And that's because I'm basically doing everything for you in real time. The link to the video will be emailed to you, Iman. So everyone will get that. But, working with me privately, it's like this express train, and working in the group is the local. The it has its benefits too. Like, if you work with me directly, you're missing out on the community, and you're missing out on new friends, and you're missing out on seeing what other brands are doing and learning from them. And you're missing out. Like, I do office hours. Some people have been with me for 4 years. So you're seeing where they're at 4 years from now, and you're like, oh, okay, like if that's my goal too, how do I get there? And then you're also going to have people behind you. And sometimes when they're asking questions that you thought you have already found the answers to, when you hear them, when you're further along, all of a sudden it opens a new door to you and you think about it differently. So you're missing out on all that when you work with me directly, but you're moving a lot faster. Um, no, office hours ends after the course is done. You get 15 sessions. If you want to continue, I have something called the membership. It's $250 a month. It includes weekly office hours, and that's only available if you take the program. You can't join it. You have to take the program. And when you're done with the program, you can join it. So it has weekly office hours. We do twice a week goal setting, where we talk about our goals for the next 2 weeks and how we're going to get to them. We review the goals that we were supposed to get to, and if we didn't get to them, we figure out a plan and sort out why. So it's a lot of accountability. Those are really fun. People are super engaged in them. And it's different than office hours because it's specifically goal setting. And we also do special calls, usually twice a week, for the members only, where we'll do like a Instagram challenge or a PR challenge, and we'll do different challenges and have different calls. And it's like next level bump up. The group is really tight. You have to commit to at least 6 months in it, because I don't want people coming and going. Most people stay, like no one ever leaves. We have like 50 students in it now, but everyone really knows each other. Some mornings I wake up and I've got like 80 messages in that chat, and I love it because it's just everyone like sharing what they're working on, giving opinions, helping each other like actually be better. So that's that. Okay, so that's everything. If you have more questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram, or email is probably better because Instagram messages are a mess. So I would say try to reach out on Instagram if you have, sorry, on email. And that's everything. Good job, everyone. I think, you're here, which is a lot more than other people have done. You're taking time, you're educating yourself. Um, and that's important. The more you know, the more you understand, you'll still get stuff wrong. You know, everyone gets stuff wrong, but you mitigate your risk and you make your life a lot easier. So that's everything. All right. It was really nice meeting all of you. Again, feel free to email me. I'm happy to try to help however I can. And that's it. All right. Bye, everyone.